All right. Good evening. Good evening. I know people are still their audio's connecting, they're logging in, so give people a moment to get virtually settled here. All right, let's get started. Good evening. I'm Patrick Brown, the chair of LD11 Democrats. I want to welcome you guys to our November LD meeting. If this is your first time, I'm going to go through a couple of our meeting norms, kind of how we do things here in LD11, at least on the virtual side of things. This is your 1000th meeting. Then you pretty much kind of know how we do things here. Okay, a couple of things here just with our meeting norms. With cameras, if you want them off, that's cool. If you're cooking or doing something else, that's fine. But we do ask that if you are recognized to speak, please turn your camera on so we can see who's speaking. Again, like I said, sometimes there's technology issues or bandwidth or stuff like that, but we just ask to make, reasonable effort to get that camera on if you recognize to speak. Second thing is we like to ask you guys stay muted unless recognized by me. Just, want to make sure we don't have any distractions or background noises or anything of that nature. Last but not least, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Members of our board are monitoring the chat. They'll either just answer the question right away. It's also a great place to drop like any links or anything like that you may reference if you're a speaker that's part of the meeting, or just, information that you want to share for the good of the order. Additionally, if you would like to follow along at home with our agenda, you can just go to the link here. If you are kind of rocking with two devices, just bring out your cell phone and scan this, and that'll bring up the agenda. Don't try and write this down because I'm not going to leave it up there long enough, but we'll go ahead and we'll drop the link in the chat here in just a moment with the link to the agenda so you can kind of follow along as we go through things here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our office reports. I will lead things off here. Let me go through some of the informational stuff, but I do have some information. Something is not on, at least on my list, that kind of came up this afternoon. I wanted to kind of share with the LD. So first things first, as you know, we just had an election. And we got some more elections coming up if you haven't been following along this next year. One of the things that we desperately need, especially as a Democratic Party, is we need poll observers. The way the quick version is with poll observers, these individuals are folks who are going to be, this is kind of a partisan position. They're appointed by the county party chair. So in our case, the Maricopa County party chair would basically nominate these individuals, the process to go through. But basically, this is important because what happens is that with the poll observer role, and this is a volunteer job, it's not like a paid position. With this job we're basically making sure that everything happens the way they're supposed to. The Republicans will send poll observers, and these individuals, of course, will observe our free and fair elections. And of course, they can point out things to the folks in charge of those sites and things of that nature. But we need to make sure that we have our representatives there as well. So if you are interested or would like to know more, we're going to drop this link into the chat. They'll give you some information about poll observers. Also, if you are interested, like I said, going to be a lot of opportunities. We have coming up, we've got the presidential preference election. We have, of course, primaries. And of course, we got the big old general election in November. So there are definite opportunities and a need for poll observers. Next thing is that if you haven't noticed, LD11, we do like to hang out and party, and we're going to be doing a holiday party. So PCs, you've already probably gotten your invite in the mail. If you haven't gotten an invite, or at least via email, then just keep watching the inbox, because we're making sure that we're sending out the guest list and everything for the holiday party. A lot of people have asked me, well, how come you just don't post it on social media or things like that? Well, the thing is that we're just not going to do that. So we'll be making sure that PCs, electeds, friends of LD11, we'll make sure that to get invites sent your way. And if we don't, just because it's a lot of people, you reach out to me and I'll be happy to to take care of you. All right, last bit of information, at least from me, and I did not come up with this quote. Democracy is not a spectator sport, but apparently it's been contributed to me a lot because I guess I've said it a few times, but I'm not the originator of this. But this is kind of what I want to just kind of close with. We just recently, of course, had a bond election. We had school board bond and overrides across the county. I know, they're still kind of counting some of the stuff. They're trying to get all the official things, but at least in our neck of the woods, City of Phoenix, all 4 questions passed. Phoenix Union's bond and override passed. I believe Osborne's did as well. Of course, across the county, there are other school districts that got their bonds and overrides passed. But unfortunately, there were the school districts in parts of the county that did not pass. And unfortunately, these schools have been trying to get these things passed. But, for a lot of different reasons, political, socioeconomic, a lot of reasons, those things are not passing. The thing is what I want to kind of just express to all of you guys tonight is this importance of being involved in this process. This does not happen automatically. As we saw across the nation from places like Virginia, Ohio, Washington State, a lot of major issues were on the ballot, everything from reproductive rights to legalizing marijuana to school board races. And a lot of those really broke either, Democratic way or progressive way, or just basically not against, the things that are good for everybody. And the thing is, what we got to take away from that is, one, that's good momentum going into, 2024, because what we know is that issues that Democrats stand for that are aligned with what the population wants, what the general public wants, and we're seeing that with these smaller elections. However, democracy is not a spectator sport. This stuff does not magically happen, and it requires those of us to do the work in order to connect with our neighbors, to talk with our friends, to take that time to volunteer and get the word out so that people know what's happening, making sure they're engaged in this process. Remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. In LD11, we are fortunate to be what's considered part of the blue wall. It's kind of the nickname we've gotten over the years, because we are a reliably Democratic blue district. Our legislators are Democrats. Our city council members, while that's not a partisan race, they are Democrats. Many of our local elected, officials from school board and everything in between are Democrats. We are a blue district. However, we have to understand that this does not just happen because we're just in South Phoenix, Laveen, Guadalupe, Central City. That is not just an automatic thing. It requires, of course, the work of all you guys on the call and many people who work with us and volunteer with us every election cycle to make that stuff happen. And we always have to remember that. Something else we also have to remember is that we need to make sure that, we're thinking about this, we're taking care of ourselves, but we're also making sure that we don't take this for granted, because, while our district is a strong blue district, our votes still go in the big, pile for all the things that are going to be happening. We're still going to be, our votes are going to go towards president. It's going to go towards Senate, Congress, school board, so many different things. And one thing that LD11, where we have a challenge is, one, our voter turnout has not been the strongest. And second of all, our voter drop off. And what that means is people voting at the top of the ticket and then slowly kind of just skipping everything below. So, we'll have people that will vote for President Biden. We'll have people vote for the, candidate for Senate and so forth. But then we start getting down to, county races. And I see, one of our county candidates on the call tonight, Tim Stringham, we can't afford to skip races like that. We get a little bit lower, we'll have school board, because you just turn on the news, you can see what happens when you get just the wrong person elected to school board, what that can do. We get a little bit lower, there's going to be bond, and there's going to be ballot initiatives, things like, protecting reproductive rights. We don't want folks skipping that. So remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. And this is a kind of a mantra that we're going to continue to talk about, because as a blue district, as a Democratic district, we should do something. We should run up the score. So if you're a sports fan, we should be running up the score. We should make sure that, all of our folks are turning out. They're voting from the top of the ballot to the bottom of the ballot, so that when, we're looking at the post game of the election, we can say LD11, we outperformed. We've done it before. We did it in 2022. We outperformed in 2022. We can outperform in 2024. And it just takes the work and dedication of folks like you and the other folks who, like I said, are probably out there doing the work right now. That's why they're not in the meeting. But again, remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. So I've taken a bit more time than I normally do. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to our first vice chair, David Braun.
Thank you, Patrick. And I could not agree more heartily with what you just said. We noticed last night that both in Ohio and Virginia, Ohio, where specifically abortion was on the ballot in either initiative or constitutional amendment, and somewhat in control of the legislature in Virginia. In this situation, those of us who are in favor of abortion rights for women won. And in fact, every single time abortion has been on the ballot, Kansas, California, Virginia, Ohio, abortion rights have won since the Supreme Court repealed Roe versus Wade. Right now, all of us know that the Planned Parenthood is going to be attempting to put abortion rights on the ballot in Arizona. And unless they completely screw up the process of gathering signatures or writing a bad or confusing proposition or all the other things that can affect the procedural aspects of getting an initiative on the ballot, it's likely they will win. And of course, we saw in 2022 and 2020, it brings out an enormous turnout of Democratic voters, younger voters, and Republican voters who are in favor of abortion rights, who are movable on the issues of who's going to be president and who's going to be senator. They are not committed, they're not fully committed Republicans in the sense that sometimes they do split their vote. We saw that in 2020, and we pulled the statistics, and it's absolutely clear. Joe Biden won his 11,000 vote margin of victory out of the Republicans that voted for him, who did not want Trump, and then voted straight Republican ballot in the offices below president. So we know in Arizona that our district, fortunately, is a very Democratic district. And it is a presidential election, as Patrick pointed out. So the turnout is going to be higher than normal, but the turnout everywhere is higher than normal. Frankly, there are thousands and thousands of unregistered or ill-motivated or non-motivated Democrats in District 11 that we really have to motivate to get out and vote Democratic and vote up and down the whole ballot as Democratic. People are going to be telling you this probably every month, but it really is true. It means a lot of efforts to help the registration effort, a lot of effort to convince our people that 5 and 6 weeks before the election, or 4 weeks before when they've received their ballots, and basically to get them signed up for early ballots in the 2 months before, 3 months before early voting begins in October. Anyway, quickly about abortion. Two things you should know. On December 12th, the Arizona Supreme Court is going to be hearing an abortion related, basically substantive hearing concerning the law that was passed that reduced the abortion restrictions to 15 weeks. The gist of it is whether the 1864 law, abortion law, which virtually outlaws abortion except to save the life of the mother, is the law in Arizona, or whether the 15-week bill that was passed in anticipation of the Supreme Court getting rid of Roe versus Wade, whether that is the applicable law. I've discussed this with you guys before. I would not be surprised if the Supreme Court says, the Arizona Supreme Court says, the 1864 law is the law of the land. Now, there are 7 Republicans on the Arizona Supreme Court, and they will know what the reaction to that would be in Arizona. It would even heighten the intensity of the turnout in the 2024 election, because very clearly then abortion would be prohibited only to save the life of the mother, and it would be virtually unavailable to speak of. The other issue is the U.S. Supreme Court has taken on this year the mifepristone, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the abortion pill, as to whether that pill was approved by the FDA legally. It's a long, complicated history on that. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but basically that's going to be decided by the end of June, early July next year, right before the presidential election again in November. So if either of those issues comes out on a negative point of view, that abortion law in Arizona that's effective is 1864 law, or whether the U.S. Supreme Court outlaws medication abortions, their turnout will be enormous. It's going to be huge anyway. They're talking about spending $1 billion in U.S. money, $1 billion in U.S. money just on advertising in Arizona. I don't know how you could possibly spend that sort of money. There aren't that many spots to spend it on, but I'm sure the local stations would love it. But anyway, it's going to be a huge turnout. Part of it is getting our people out to vote, because ultimately, as Patrick said, for a district that is so democratic, we should be controlling, we should be moving Arizona into the Democratic column from now on. And with all of our work, and it'll take work, I think we can do it. That's all for me.
All right. Thank you, Dave. All right. So our second vice chair, Michael Butts, if you're not aware, he's a PhD candidate, and he's working on his dissertation because, for those of you who haven't gone through that fun, you got these deadlines and homework. So he wasn't able to join us tonight, but he did want me to report just 2 quick items. First of all, I want to thank everybody who was able to make it out to our last social hour. Like I said, a lot of fun, always great to hang out in a more social setting, things of that nature. Also, he wants to give a shout out to the folks who have already gotten their PC signatures done. They've gotten their 10. They are like basically just waiting to figure out what to do with it next. And just to remind folks that, hey, if you're currently a PC appointed or elected, it's going to be time to start getting those signatures and re-upping, and to reach out to the LD if you need assistance, like if you need a list of folks in your precincts or the forms, or just like a refresher on the process. So that's from our second vice chair. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop over to our treasurer. Sada, you have the floor.
Okay, hi. So as of October 30th, we have October 31st, sorry about that. We have $3,313.07 in our bank account. And for October, we raised $180, which came from our recurring donors at ActBlue. So if you guys want to become a recurring donor, we'll share a link. Our donation comes locally. We don't get any big money, so we rely on small donations from you guys. And we spent this month $372.61. It's majority of them are like monthly fees like ActBlue, Zoom, or Google domain and then we had one unique expenditure for October, $250 to send 2 members from the board to the Maricopa County Democratic Party Champaign brunch last month. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Sadi, and also to reiterate, like I said, we work on the LD, everything that we do, especially going into a major election cycle, comes from fundraising. Every little bit goes a long way, so you can either become a reoccurring donor, or you can just give us a whole grip load of money, and and we'll appreciate that too. So if you have an extra device, go ahead and scan that. I'll take it to our ActBlue. We'll also drop the link in the chat as well, because like I said, a little bit goes a long way. All right, that brings us to our Sergeant at Arms.
Good evening. This is the Sergeant at Arms. First, with the state information, Arizona State Representative Lisa Sun has about a week to respond to an ethics complaint that outlines allegation she used her authority to intervene in a friend's child custody dispute and made violent threats to Tolleson employees in recent months. Democrat leaders in the House of Representatives submitted a complaint November 2nd and requested an investigation, citing that they called a pattern of concerned behavior from one of their own members. Democratic leaders who filed the complaint had known about the custodial interference allegations for months. A spokesman confirmed the issue was shared by Republican House Speaker Ben Toma's office on June 2nd. For the county side, the Maricopa County Republican Committee appeared to violate state party bylaws last week when it endorsed former President Donald Trump for a 2024 run, but it's unlikely to see repercussions from the state GOP officials. MCRC officials announced Thursday that the organization's Executive Guidance Committee unanimously voted in favor of endorsing Trump. The county's party bylaw says that no member can speak in support of a candidate in Republican primary elections unless 60% of the committee members vote to approve doing so. However, the endorsement directly conflicts with the state's party bylaws. Those rules made clear by the party officials are supported to treat Republican candidates fairly during primary elections, except in presidential preference elections in which the incumbent is a Republican. The state party bylaw says that they apply fully to county committees and that county parties cannot enact conflicting rules. Arizona GOP Chairman Jeff DeWitt called MCRC an independent organization. In Monday's statement, the county party voted to give $250,000 to Trump-aligned election reform group for a project that would allow volunteers to review voter registration lists. The vote drew public criticism from other Republican officials because the group to be funded, We the People AZ Alliance PAC, was co-founded by the county party vice chair, Shelby Bush. MCRC leaders ultimately backed out of the project. And the Mojave County GOP chairwoman Jeannie Kinch said that she won't endorse one Republican over the other before the voters decide on a nominee. Kinch, who also serves as the county's elected assessor, said making premature endorsements can cause all kinds of problems. If you look at the rules from the Republican committee for the state prior to the primary, we aren't really supposed to be endorsing anyone, she said. And finally, just to speak on the Election Day Act possibility coming to Arizona. The proposed act would have in 2021, the Election Day Holiday Act or the Freedom to Vote Act was introduced but not passed into law. The proposed act would have transformed Election Day into a federal holiday, permitted same-day voter registration and voting, expanded the accessible forms of identification for voting, and facilitated the process of voting by mail without requiring specific excuses. The argument in favor of making Election Day an official holiday is it would increase the turnout and enable more people to vote. But of course, one of the arguments against making Election Day a federal holiday is that some believe that the changing in state laws and corporate policies to facilitate voting will be a more effective way to help people vote rather than designate a federal holiday. There are 19 states that observe Election Day as a legal holiday, including Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Republican state Indiana, Republican state Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Republican state Montana, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Virginia, and Republican state West Virginia, where most of the state's offices are closed. That is my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. One thing is nice about being a Democrat is, like, you know, we actually try to very, very hard, and we succeed, and I would say almost all the time, of following the rules. So maybe our Republican friends can, you know, learn from our example. All right, that's enough shade for this meeting. Let me go ahead and I want to jump to our special guest. So tonight joining us is Luis Heredia. I think everybody knows Luis. He is our DNC member when he's also not working for Senator Kelly's office. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to Luis. And so you can share your screen, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hopefully you can hear me. I am coming out of a fundraiser this afternoon, and you know, you get to the time of the season that there are multiple either chicken dinners, like receptions or fundraising events, and you know, you do your best to attend many of them. But thank you for the invite and just the opportunity to answer questions. I want to get to that pretty quickly, but I do want to, just on behalf of my role as the DNC member representing the state, it's a role that I've had since 2013. I've been able to serve also in the capacity of the Credentials Committee. I served in the Chairman Paris's transition team when he first got elected as chair of the DNC, and have also been appointed to the Rules and Bylaws Committee in this last term under Chairman Harrison. And that's been an interesting assignment. For the past 3 years, we've looked at reshuffling our primary dates that we are looking to nominate our president. We invited all states to submit plans. 27 different states submitted a request to be considered for the February window. As you might know, that New Hampshire and Iowa had been the traditional states that go first in the nation. Iowa first has a caucus, first primary. New Hampshire. Other states that had added was Michigan and South Carolina and Nevada were a part of that lineup. The DNC decided to open it up. We held a number of different meetings throughout the summer, heard different proposals, and the president and the DNC decided on a lineup that included South Carolina to go first, Nevada and New Hampshire to go second on the second Tuesday of on the first Tuesday of actually February. The next state that would go is Michigan, and the state that was invited but couldn't change the rules was Georgia, was the last state. But now we have that calendar. The DNC committed that we're going to do this process every 4 years. So we will no longer have New Hampshire that gets to have presidents in their living rooms, for example, as a tradition, just to open it up, because America's changing and the opportunity for us to be engaged in different levels is what the presidential primary is all about. And so we're going to be visiting that again in 2028. Then we moved on to the delegates election, and we've moved to accept plans, including Arizona, to nominate our president. But I want to move into a presentation really quickly, because the question always, what does the DNC do to benefit LD 11, for example. And I wish we would be able to do more, but I do want folks to understand investments that are made that help the state party and LDs. For example, the investment in the voter file. The voter file has millions of dollars invested in it, where data is stored, maintained, augmented. It is maintained with commercial data, cleaned up with cell phone numbers. There is a huge investment that goes into having a robust voter file. Some of you might remember the days that we would have to print out computer paper, and names of our voters were distributed out on paper, and we had to go through rows and rows of people, and we really didn't have voting lists that would hit the doors, for example. But with technology and van and minivan, and being able to support that technology and even enhance it in ways that is very much more user friendly and getting better and better each election cycle. The DNC also supports our state parties at an average level of about $60,000 to some other states receive about $80,000 a year from contributions that go directly to the state parties to provide either staff or plans that they have submitted. And the DNC also provides a network of compliance and legal frameworks to make sure that we win elections that matter, especially in the state like Arizona, that we have multiple, not only the presidency this year, but a crucial Senate race that will hold the power of the Senate, the majority of the Senate in its hands, and also delivering congressional candidates. And so the DNC and the D-TRIP and all these other names, and I have a graphic just to go into that, but I wanted to kind of move into, by working, let me share my screen. And we've all seen how political parties often have like failed leadership or underutilization of talent, inadequate infrastructure, stakeholders, and this cycle, especially when you lose elections, it really contributes to a dysfunction that it's hard to recover. But when we are in a period that we have a great opportunity because we have won tough races. We're at the point of electing 2 more senators state senators that will give us majority in the Senate, 2 more legislators that will give us the majority in the House. We have a governor, an attorney general, a secretary of state. We used to have 2 Democratic senators, and we have members of the congressional delegation. If we can send 2 more, which will create the majority, it really needs the foundation to be set. And we always want to be able to have robust infrastructure and realize what is achievable expectations. This is a simple graphic that I've tried to use to explain the roles of the state party, counties and LDs, and clubs and organizations. There's a lot of research that our state party does to collect information on candidates about what are the vulnerabilities, what levels of communication is either used on social media, what are communication folks delivering to reporters so they can report on a story. I've mentioned the voter file, and I'll go into the coordinated campaign as a structure, as an entity legally. The county party is about party building. It's about fundraising, supporting local candidates, registration of voters, and also PEVL. It's changed its name. Let's call it PEVL. The recruitment of candidates and the support, the recruitment of more PCs, and continuously doing volunteer recruitment and training. And then your traditional clubs and organizations that help build capacity, get speakers to attend and present presentations, and get our Democratic base engaged in community service or candidate support. Just really quick there. What the coordinated campaign does, and the DNC invests hundreds, if not millions at times. They invest in millions in the last cycle. it's an ability to coordinate, and Senator Kelly's campaign maximized this to the fullest of he raising into the party, but the DNC is also raising into the party, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee raising money to the party. So we could hire organizers that are focused on Democratic turnout, increasing districts like LD 11 to turn out in higher numbers, so Democrats, and also increasing performance. So when we have independents that might be leaning our way, if they can cast a ballot and turn out and vote Democratic, it helps our numbers to close down those gaps. But the coordinated campaign is not. It's not a template to replace an individual candidate's campaign. It's not going to do what the individual candidate is supposed to do, which is raise money, mailers about the story of that candidate, tell the compelling reason why people should vote for that person. It is not to replace an individual race. It is there to Democratic turnout or performance. It's not, it shouldn't just be focused on just turnout or persuasion. It's the call is to do everything under the sun to turn out and win elections. It also doesn't have unlimited resources. So everybody that puts money in the bucket, for example, already has an expenditure thinking about it. And there's also, and I'll show a slide to it, the coordinated campaign is every list that you can imagine trying to move in the same direction. You have our chair, our executive director, our compliance team, our communications team, our election services, our finance team. You have individual candidates, the Biden for president, the DNC, the US candidate, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, which is the SCC, the individual congressional races, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the Arizona Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, the DLCC, which is the nationwide Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, state candidates and local candidates. As you could see, this is a big table, all hoping to work together to increase. And then we are reliant on our external partners, our brothers and sisters in the unions and folks in organizations that help us build turnout machines to get more voters out, but also understand the issues that are important to them. I want to say there are really smart people that work really hard to try to figure out how best to utilize elections. For example, this is a spreadsheet that people like DJ Quinlan or Chris Brill or election folks that are looking at the numbers of, you know, how many Democrats that are scored at a particular level need to turn out, how many Democrats need to be persuaded that are soft in performance or can move out, and what is the mathematical, when you break down different components of our three buckets, Democrats and no party preference folks and Republicans. It's just, I don't want to simplify a lot of hard work that is done to get people elected. A lot of folks feel that, and for right reasons, we are all volunteers in many capacities, oftentimes in different capacities. And we create tension among the different groups because, you know, there's a lot of second guessing to a lot of the stuff that is done, and there will always be. We're Democrats. We're not what Will Rogers always says. I don't belong to an organized party. I'm a Democrat. But I just want to say that there is I've seen a lot of great talent win really critical races in the state, and never underestimate the value of folks that are contributing to winning. But we have a new political reality. You know, this is everybody that is involved in partisan goals. Mention the county, Keep Arizona Blue, the Democratic municipal officials, the Democratic Association of Secretaries, Arizona List, Emily's List, the Democratic Governors Association. All of them are talking to each other in a general direction. I want to just provide a visual that when I was executive director, it was my job to maintain positive relationships with all these groups so they can see a vehicle to contribute in our party to win critical races. I had to keep these organizations informed about the opportunities we had in Arizona for investments. It is a lot of great work, and I just want to present that to you. We have organizations in our state, Arizona Wins, our teachers union, our brothers and sisters in 469, our carpenters, our America Votes table, the AFL-CIO, everyone working with the goal of electing people that will reflect the values of working class Arizonans, and they do a lot of electoral work as well. We have civic organizations, One Arizona, Lucha, Our Vote's Our Vote. We have Planned Parenthood, Chispa. All these organizations are also looking at civic engagement, teaching folks how to register to vote, but also giving them the important issues that are important to them. And then we have our organizations that help us understand issues better. The Progressive Policy Network, the Center for Budget Priorities, SIX, Center for Economic Progress, Children's Action Alliance. These groups are not partisan, but they usually reflect values that we believe in, like investing in education, maintaining quality and affordable health care, making sure that there are barriers to voting that are reduced, or making sure that we are moving different policies that help workers organize. And then we have a lot of moving organizations. Run for Something, the Arena, Justice Democrats, Our Revolution, PDA, Arena, Progressive Turnout, Emerge. We have a big family in our hands, and it takes an understanding. Not everybody to kind of agree on the same thing, because we're all funded by different people. We have different leaders, but at least understand what each of our lanes are. And so where Republicans contribute is their structure in our state is somewhat different. Well, they have organizations, but they're in power in ways at the chamber, at the Federation of Children, that the Dealers Association, the special interests that control a lot of our politics. Oftentimes, these organizations lend works that are lobbyists that had a background in running campaigns, and they basically run these campaigns for candidates for free, minimizing what they're expending for money, or mailers that are sent under C3 and C4 organizations. And I just want to list, and they also have their structure. Camp Turning Point, Koch brothers, ALEC, and we've heard a lot about ALEC, the Family Research Center that funds the Center for Arizona Policy and their anti-choice and against women's reproductive freedoms. But this is a slide that I've used in the past that kind of says, the Center for Arizona Policy, the anti-choice organization, hires a baby attorney. They house them in their organization. Then they're paid. Then they move to be an attorney for the legislative caucus. Then they're running campaigns. And so the use of their talent is embedded in a lot of the power structures in our state that makes it moving money and people and talent to maintain power. Now, this system is being challenged every election cycle. As Democrats grow power, we have to maintain and combat this special interest that is part of our state. And that's the work that takes everybody from you participating in your LD to learning about how we can win these critical races. So with that, I hope I was able to share useful information. I could take questions, which is the fun part of this conversation.
All right. So yeah, if you have any questions for Luis, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, questions going once. Questions going twice. All right, Luis, as always, thank you for this great information. I think it's really helpful because I think, especially when people are new to this type of volunteerism or the kind of political scene, they don't understand kind of like just the layers of organization. They just kind of want to help. And I think having this information really helps folks understand kind of like how we all work together, interact, and I think most importantly, just, the operation that kind of exists to get Democrats elected and get our values from ideas to policy. So again, thank you for for joining us tonight. And again, if you guys have any questions, maybe think of something later, Luis, would you be able to drop your email in the chat in case people want to just maybe email you directly if they have questions?
I will. Thank
All
you. Thank you for having me. And please, if you have any particular questions or, these structures are always changing. Campaign finance changes a lot from cycle to cycle. One message that I just want to share is being part of our Democratic family since I was 16 years old, walked into the Yuma Democratic Party, and my family wasn't political. I don't come from privilege. I just knew that I needed to do more. It's never like one main message for me is more important now than it was than ever before. It's not about one election or one candidate. The change has to be over a period of different times. Even in great failures of 2010 and 14, when I ran Felicia Rodolini's campaign for Attorney General, it was a harsh race. It was mentally exhausting. It was brutal emotionally. You worked so hard. You had a great candidate facing a terrible individual like Mark Brnovich and at times Tom Horn, and you lose. But I could easily walk away at those times because it was such a, devastating part. But you don't walk away and you fight the next day. And it's not about one candidate. It's not about one election cycle. It's about improving education, getting children the dignity that they deserve, workers that need more support so they have the right to organize, things that change and make us Democrats. So, let me just focus. It's never about, we learn so much each election cycle that hopefully we continue winning and making Arizona stronger and stronger Democratic. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to move into our elected officials update. I see Signa Oliver. Heard there was this election thing that happened and Phoenix Union had something to do with it. So why don't you tell us what's going on in the district?
Absolutely. Hello, LD11. Yes, our bond measure passed yesterday with about 46,000 ballots cast. That was only like a little less than 15% turnout, but we overwhelmingly passed that initiative with 63.45%. And that money is going to go to good use. We are going to, upgrade and update a lot of infrastructure in our schools across the Phoenix Union District area. We are also going to update technology types of thing, update our fleet of vehicles, buses, and that sort of thing. And there's even, some monies in there, I think, that are designated for maybe some EV vehicles or some alternative fuel vehicles. So Phoenix Union is on the cutting edge of, what a school district needs to look like. We're not perfect, but we have a lot of work. We're doing a lot of good work. Myself, the superintendent, and 2 other board members just flew back last night from Tulsa. We went to look at City Years program to see if they have the potential to help us get our students better educated, especially students that are in disadvantaged areas. It was a great presentation. It was a quick trip. We were in Monday and back last night, and we got some good information. Were able to talk to school districts there, Tulsa School District, principals and superintendents got to speak with us, telling us how well that program works there. So it was time well spent. I'm glad we got the opportunity to go. Don't know if many of you have tuned in to our board meetings right now. We did pass a safety program that we're still, perfecting. It's not perfect, but we did pass the initiative in June to bring on 6 SROs back into Phoenix Union. The city of Phoenix only has 2 right now. So even if we had tried to put, which we weren't going to, but put SROs at every school, the city of Phoenix couldn't have supplied those SROs to us anyway. We are actually looking at putting we're doing a pilot in a couple of schools with weapons detection systems. Unfortunately, in this first quarter, we've had several weapons show up on our school campuses, and we just cannot have that. I mean, we have to keep everybody on our campuses safe. We've heard from people, our educators, we've heard from students, we've heard from community members. If you all have a perspective, you can join our meetings online. We always meet on the first Thursday of every month. And then we have, open comments from the public. So if you want your voice heard, I'm interested in hearing from you. If you want to contact me, I'll put my email address, my Phoenix Union email address in the box, and you can contact me and tell me your thoughts. You guys sent me to Phoenix Union to make things better, and I need to hear what you think about it, and so that we can make the best decisions for our students. And I just gonna end this with the African proverb that now is my true north. I've heard it several times over the past few months, so I've adopted it. And it says, how are the children doing? And if I can answer that question, the children are doing well, then we're doing well. If we can't, we have continuing work to do. Thank you, LD11.
All right. Thank you for the great updates. And again, like I said, public education proud. And, someone asked me, like, how can we, stop all these bonds and overrides and all this type of stuff? They feel like they're voting for them like every year. I told them, like, it's really simple. We fund education properly. So, all right. So let's go through a couple of updates here, then we'll kind of move into our general announcements. So a couple of things going on around the county, state, or what have you. First things first is Maricopa County Democrats. The winter convention for the Maricopa County Democratic Party is going to be happening Saturday, December 2nd. And guess what? It is going to be in person. No more Zoom meetings for the county. So they have not announced a location yet. My understanding is going to be somewhere in Phoenix. I know that narrows it down, right? But it will be in person. This should be a kind of a bit of an eventful convention, because we do have some spots on the county board that have been filled by interim board members. And so per the county bylaws, those folks have to stand for, either re-election, or folks can, of course, challenge them and run for those positions. So like I said, we'll be doing that, as well as there will be some bylaw amendments that will be introduced at this convention as well. So again, PCs, if you're a PC, you can vote. And what's important is that for the county party, there are no proxies, so you have to be present to vote. So like if you want to vote for these people, you have to be there to vote. So we'll definitely be talking about this leading up to it's been probably, I want to say 2.5 years, maybe 3, since we had an in-person convention. So it'll technically be the first one for LD11, because we were LD27 the last time we had a county convention. So it'd be awesome to get a lot of great turnout. On top of just those things, I'm pretty sure that, we'll get to the county will feature our countywide candidates as well. So it'll be an opportunity to interact with folks like Tim Stringham, who's running for county recorder. Give you a quick plug there. Additionally, as I referenced the bylaws, there will be a bylaw Q&A. So if you're wondering what's going on, what's going to be voted on, this will be an opportunity to hear from Eric Limbs, who's the parliamentarian for the county. He's going to go through what is being proposed at the upcoming convention and kind of go through that stuff. So this will be a good way to kind of get heads up on what's happening, so you kind of maybe have an idea how to vote moving forward. Second thing is everybody's just, we're getting a band back together because we got an ADP convention in January. It's going to be January 27th, and it's going to be in person. It's going to be in Phoenix, and that's all that I know, and at least, that has been shared with me. So, of course, there'll be more information to come. Again, it has been a long time since we've had an in-person state convention. And I think, it's a great experience if you've never gone to one, or it's been a long time since you've gone to one. So obviously, if you're a state committee member, you need to be present for that. I'm sure there'll be something to vote on or something to do or some sort of rah-rah event or something like that. But we will definitely share that information as it comes out. So it's gonna be one of those meetings where we're gonna kind of probably get to them a little bit faster than we normally do, which I'm sure I can feel like the disappointment through the interwebs. But before we do, I want to open it up to some announcements, like how we do things with announcements. We want to keep them to about 60 seconds. Our Sergeant at Arms, Robert Branscombe, will mute you if you go over, because like I said, he just, he has time. So I'm going to kind of use some chair privilege here. I'm going to recognize Tim Stringham. I'll give you a minute, but Tim's going to be joining us in January. So we'll get a little bit more time with him. But since he's here, I want to give him an opportunity to kind of introduce himself to the LD. So Tim, take it away.
Hi, folks. I'm Tim Stringham. I'm a veteran of the United States Army and Navy, and I'm running for Maricopa County Recorder. The Recorder is the big elections position for the county. It's important to make sure everybody gets their right to vote. I'll be talking next month, so I'll leave it at that. But if you look in the chat, I went ahead and put the Secretary of State's equal link, so you can sign our petitions, not only for me, but for other Democratic candidates. And I appreciate your time.
Tim,
All
why
right.
don't you tell us where you were 2 or 3 days ago?
Last night at 1:30 in the morning, I got back from Qatar. I spent the last, I'm currently a JAG officer in the U.S. Navy Reserve, still serving after 14 years. And I spent the last 2 weeks in Qatar.
Well, welcome back. And just kind of tie into something that I said earlier. Remember, folks, like I said, democracy is not a spectator sport. This individual is running for a extremely important office for a county. And like I said, if he can fly from Qatar, make it back home and talk to us, we can knock on doors and talk to our neighbors, let them know about candidates like Tim and the other folks who are going to be running. And so again, like I said, that's going to be our mantra for the rest of the year and next year. All right. Any other announcements?
I do, if I'm able to.
All right. Go ahead, Michael.
So hi, folks. I'm Michael Abramson III. I'm the current policy director for the Maricopa County Young Democrats. I just want to plug that this upcoming Sunday, we'll be formally launching our Black Caucus. So we'll be having our first formal meeting as well as the official launch of it. Of those that are familiar with Armani Jackson, she is chairing the committee. So she currently works at Arizona List and has done a lot of amazing progressive work. So I just posted the link to register for the event in the chat. If you fill that up, then we'll go ahead and follow up with you with the exact location. It'll be this upcoming Sunday at 5 p.m. So it's the 12th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Any other announcements? Okay, announcements going once. Announcements going twice. All right, folks. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. As always, like I said, great information from our guests. So just so you know, like I said, next month on the board, we haven't quite made a decision. I know we got to do like the 30-day warning and whatnot per our bylaws, but since we are going to be doing our holiday party in December, the discussion amongst the board is if we will do a formal meeting. We may consider the holiday party like our formal, semi-formal-ish sort of thing meeting. So we will let y'all know as soon as we kind of have an opportunity to kind of confer as a board if we're going to do basically the formal meeting and do, of course, the holiday party. But with that being said, in the meantime, get those PC signatures. Make sure you're signing petitions. Again, we got equal, so you can knock out a lot of signatures for great candidates just from the comfort of your cell phone, mobile device, or home computer. there are the abortion rights petitions are all over the planet. Our newsletter will list all the locations where you can make sure to sign that, because the thing is, we can't vote for it in November if we can't get it on the ballot. So that's the first stage. And so they've got to collect a lot of signatures to do that. So we want to definitely support them. And as always, just like I said, stay informed, and talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. And last but not least, for those of you, whether you're going out of town, staying home, families coming in, have a happy, healthy Thanksgiving holiday. Rest, relax, eat turkey, watch sports, or play board games, or whatever you do. And we will see you guys next time. So good night and take care.
Good night, guys.